And we are live. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I promised you 30 seconds. It's been a little bit longer. Like I told you, things can happen. This is a live event. So some speakers may be not showing up or having problem with the platform or whatever. And so we have our second speaker here, Pankil Shah. And Pankil is going to talk about producing content, creating content with the power of AI. Pankil, welcome.
All right. Thank you. I mean, it's a pleasant surprise to be speaking earlier than I thought. Welcome, everyone. And thank you all for joining here very much. My presentation is going to be sort of quick and mostly interactive. So let's get started. I'll start sharing my screen. And here we go. Share screen. Okay. There we go. So I guess you guys can see my screen.
Give it about a second. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet?
Nope.
Okay. Share. How about now?
Nope. So there are two ways to share a screen. One using PDF, directly sharing PDF. Another one is just sharing your entire screen. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to share my entire screen. Okay, I see. System preferences. Okay, just give me a second. Sorry, you have to figure this out.
I see some people making some friends there. Jason is like, hey, Dave, are you the Discord dude? Are you the friend with this guy and that guy? Which is amazing. This is what the summit is for. It's not just for you to listen. He's like, I think I know you. Oh my goodness. So cool.
Okay, all right, I think I figured it out. Okay. Privacy. Screen recording. Privacy.
Hey, Taylor, good morning. Good morning to you. It is, some of you may know I'm actually in Russia right now. I am usually in Dallas, Texas. I'm in Russia right now. So it is 5 p.m. here. So I'm going to stay with you until midnight tonight. Taylor is going to be one of the speakers, by the way. Thank you for being here a little bit earlier. So Taylor with a company called Scorpion, and I'll tell you the story how we've met. I don't know how many of you have tried. Oh my goodness, what's the name of the social platform? I haven't been there. Clubhouse. Oh my goodness, Clubhouse. I haven't been there for a while. So we had a great session. I hope that Pankil is going to be back. Otherwise, it's going to be a second person. Jason, how did you know that it was Clubhouse, huh? Do I know you? Otherwise, it's going to be a second speaker bailing on us today. Pankil, come back. Come back. I'm getting nervous. You were in Dallas last week, Pankil. Welcome back. What's up, man?
Not much. Sorry about that, guys. I think I finally fixed it, so we can give it a shot now.
Let's try it.
Alrighty. So just sharing my screen here. Okay. Share. How about now?
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. So let's get started. Present. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So plenty of you have plenty of questions around whether AI is good enough to create content or not. And what is the best way to go about doing it? What are some of the use cases for it? And how should you really approach, right? Like, so I think most people are wasting time trying to write content with AI and not getting anywhere, or at least not seeing the results. Or the most often complaint that we have noticed is it's not factual, right? It writes a bunch of fluff, and it makes up its own stories as it goes. So how do we go about approaching this content? And is one of the challenges that Outranking is solving. So we can talk about this in detail, and I'll answer any question. I'm sure like there are critiques and there are supporters for AI and how AI can write content. So would love to get insights on both sides. But what is AI, right? Like AI is a supercomputer that is ingested with about 10% of the web data that finds patterns and answers to a user's query or instructions based on probabilities, right? But well, the question is probability the game you want to be playing with your clients or your content? Question mark. So let's look at some examples, right? Like instruction one, create an eye-popping ad. Sure, it can do that. Write a blog for me. Sure, some say that it can do that. Do all my work, and it's gonna say like whether you wish. It's not going to do everything for us. So it's whether it's going to replace writers or not, or whether it's going to replace the majority of the content marketing efforts or not. That's questionable, right? And so let's dig deeper. Is probability the game that you really want to be playing with your clients? No, right? Like I wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to do that. We'd want to create factual content, but it's increasingly difficult because the most important thing that AI lacks is its ability for reasoning, right? It can say that A comes before B, but then you throw, just some random alphabets at it, which which comes first, but it's not going to be able to figure it out unless there is a pattern to it. So it's programmable, right? Like AI is programmable. So understanding natural languages and stuff, it can do to a certain extent, but it works still on probabilities. And probabilities mean like a slight change here or there can lead the sentence construction into a totally different ball game. So I mean, like, how do we create content for it, right? Like problems with AI is most like it lacks reasoning. Okay, we already know that. But okay, so like, what do we actually, as content marketers, create content for? It's either two of the other things, right? Like one is for ideation and brainstorming, where you are creating ideas for ads, Instagram stories, or you're just creating some random images. AI can do that as well, right? Or you're creating a small something that's like something that's repeatable, something that you can copy from, something where you can understand patterns from and make your own ideas around it. Well, but for writing blogs, it's different, right? Like you're writing outlines and you're writing paragraphs, and they both have different challenges. So that's why I broke them into two of these separate parts. Now let's talk about ideation and brainstorming. It requires feedback, so you give it some input based on the information that you have around your product, a little bit here and there, and it can create some ideas. So now, like, but it lacks reasoning, right? Like it will create some ideas, and you'll often have noticed that it's not what you really want, but hey, it's cool. It's this is not going to solve my problem, but if I tweak it a little bit, it's going to solve my problem. So it's more sort of like it lacks reasoning, but I can live with it because I know that these are ideas. I know that it's getting 50, 60% of the way, and I can do the remaining part by adjusting few lines here and there, personalizing it, and actually publishing it, right? That works because there's still human touch to a major extent that's required. And it's just used as an ideation. So ideations are often great ways when you are trying to use AI. But when it comes to writing outlines or paragraphs, it's a different story. So what happens, like when you say, like this is a practical example that you guys see here, write an outline about frog and a bird, and out of the 10 outputs that I ran, one was this, like how to convert a frog into a bird, right? It knows that it needs to write an outline about frogs and birds, but it does not know the reasoning behind it, right? Like what you actually have in your mind and where you are trying to go with that particular title or outline, it's not going to know. So again, this becomes an ideation problem. There are other problems associated with it as well. Reasoning, of course, like there's no human reasoning in it, so it's going to give you everything based on probability. It does not know what is more right, what is less right, and what is wrong and what is more wrong. It just knows, right, stuff. Truthfulness becomes increasing challenges because it's going to blur out some random crap. And like your clients will be like, hey, what are you doing with it? And there goes your contract. So it doesn't understand the objective totally. So it can understand like small bits and pieces of information very well, and it can use examples to come up with personalized examples that you want. But when it comes to paragraphs and paragraphs of content reading and understanding and collecting research and all that information from, it's going to fail terribly, because it's going to still rely on its own intel, right? And which is like 10% of the web, which could also have crap data in it. There's no SEO value. There we go. All right. It has no SEO value because you still have to go and optimize it for search, for user intent, and you still need to make sure that you cover the content depth, right? So the major roadblock here is that like you're gonna have to do all the research yourself. You're gonna have to get 80% of the work done before you can actually use AI to do anything meaningful with it. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Now let's talk about writing paragraphs. And this is a practical example, and you'll see like more funny things associated with it. This is the most common thing is COVID is uh, quite dramatic, right? Like it's been disturbing lives of many people right now. So COVID, a lot of things people are searching is around COVID, right? But now guess what? The AI is trained till 2019. So COVID and what is COVID is still very nuanced to it, right? So this is what it would blur out. Like for example, COVID is a black fungus that causes illness in children, which is like totally crap. And you cannot make like you cannot like how much editing would you do here in order to fix this particular sentence and make it your own, right? Like it's gonna take time, and that just means that I write the paragraph myself, then use AI to do any of it. So it lacks feedback, right? Like it cannot understand like so oftentimes you must have noticed that any AI tool that you use, they take a brief description of what the content you're writing about in there. But is that really enough? Like when you're writing long form content, it's not. One section could be talking about totally different thing, the other could be talking about totally different thing. So giving a context as to what the AI needs to write is more time consuming than just writing it yourself, right? So it's major problems associated with it: feedback, organization, research, fact checking, plagiarism, linguistic drama. So you all work with different languages, right? And finally it comes reasoning, right? So how do you really get away with all of these problems? And the problem is not where everyone else is looking at. It's not right for me, but it is do the research for me. So take a different approach, right? Without having the right research fed into the AI, there is no good quality of content coming out of it. It's just not possible. And to train the AI, you need like there's always going to be lag, right? Like the information happened yesterday. If I start training the AI today, it's still going to take a few days for me to convert those data that feed into the AI and have it understand. And yet it still knows the other 10% of web, which is crap. So it's going to still play probability. So how do you really get past this, right? Like how the heck do I really create factual research ranking content using AI? So what we did, outranking, like instead of focusing on just helping you write content for long posts, for web content that you want actually to rank, what we did was we focused on researching aspect first. So if we research and if we create the guidelines for the users to execute their AI commands on, then it becomes a very easy to fetch the fact or fetch the truthful information that's out there, fetch the research, and then influence it, use the AI and influence the AI to write content for you. But there's better things than that. We infuse this with SERP data, so it has competitive details about all of your ranking competitors in the in Google, in for whichever keyword you are trying to rank for. And this gives you an edge in covering all the topics that you actually need in order to rank for that content, and covers all the on-page SEO elements as well. But doing all of these things together with an AI, it's not one click and go, right? There's still some figuring out. So a human is always needed, but you can actually get things done. So I'm going to show like a very quick demo of what concepts is and what we really do with outranking. So we will look at a topic that I'm trying to create content for is content marketing. Let's go to AI Wizard. And you can see AI is going to do majority of the work, but when it comes to writing content, it's going to still ask for your feedback, but give you everything that you need, right? So let's go directly to sections. I will, well, not even that. So let's go to sections right here. We'll add some content about content marketing, and I will show you common matrix. Let's add that. Let's add that. Let's add that. Go to outline. So let's say you are writing about common matrices when it comes to content marketing. You would still have to do the research, go figure out how to influence the AI to create content around. What concepts does is that it reads existing research, gathers all the useful and only the relevant concepts out of it, and that you can use to create content with AI. So there we go. For example, a content marketer may measure engagement and conversion matrix, brand awareness and visibility. So all of these are the discussion points that you need to cover in common matrices when you talk about content marketing. And then you can influence the AI to select and build content around. There we go. So now it writes truthful information, it writes factual information, and you can actually do useful things with it without having to worry much about plagiarism. So these are unique concepts that are not just copied content from the web, but it is after understanding the web data, it is after understanding the research, picking out the most relevant information and summarizing them in a way that can be influenced to create content with it. So that's a very quick example of how you should be using AI is to do more research first, then writing, instead of just going straight to the writing and saying, hey, write for me. So I hope this was useful, and I can stop sharing my screen. We can take some questions.
Yes, actually, Pankil, we cannot see you. There you go. Now your camera works. Ethan is asking, is the SEO score bar on the right-hand side in the tool? What is the topic coverage score based on?
Topic coverage score is based on the first 20 results that from SERP. And what we do is we analyze each of these pages, every bit of content in it, and we gather the most common key phrases. In all the pages together, right? So we have a scoring system where we pull out all the content and all the topics, and so we know, right, like what you need to talk about. So we use our topics to influence gathering of concepts for outlines and for even content. I cannot hear you, Natalie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Taylor is asking, besides GPT-3, what models are being used in outranking?
We're using BERT, and we are using many custom NLP libraries. Some we have created and some we have sourced because they're open source.
Jason is asking, in the concepts, is there a way to guide the AI?
Absolutely, right? So like you're totally guiding the AI into writing only the specifics of what you want to cover in matrix. You can combine these concepts and you can summarize them right here. So it's actually not just summarizing, it's writing the content on its own, and it's trying to include those concepts, make sense of it together, put them together, and make sure that it is talking about common matrices associated with content marketing, and then building out that paragraph. That is why it's more that is why like the content is so right on, and it doesn't deviate away from what the actual intent is.
Bob is asking, is there a way to change the keyword of AI is if not pull in the correct information?
Is there a way to change the keyword if AI is not pulling the content? Absolutely. There is actually even better information, right? So the power of AI is, let's go to Google and just pull out a very quick example of an Amazon product that is so tedious to read that it will take you about 30 minutes to just understand what the product is about, right? So let's look at Amazon maybe.
You stop sharing your screen.
Yes, let me share my screen. There we go. Okay, so I pulled out Amazon page, and let's look at this particular conversion kit. Right, this is all custom content, right? Like I was not able to find on web, but I want to create content around this, right? Like so, there's no information about the scooter. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's say there is like some information about the product. Just copy this, right, and come here, go to settings and paste your custom information too. And now this is your custom research, right? So we will start analyzing information out of this, and we can generate concepts out of it, right? So now it is like, so you understand, like these are the concepts around it. And you like, this is unique content, okay? This is not copied from just what we found. This is after the fact and analyzing it. So not just this, right? Like let's say you have a product page, or like many of your like affiliate marketers, or you're writing about a specific product or an e-commerce site, stuff like that. You often focus on features, disadvantages, and benefits out of it. So you can also guide the AI to collect just the features out of it, for like anything, right? Like just to put any content, any unstructured content that you will have difficulty reading. It will gather all the information and help you influence the AI to create content around it. So like it also has like a inbuilt sentiment analysis, right? So like let's say you want to really understand what people are talking about when it comes to Amazon and this particular scooter, right? So I don't see any rating there. 5-star reviews. Okay, so I don't have a 5-star or any reviews in here, but let me copy one more maybe. This has 115 reviews, so we'll be able to get more information out of it. Okay, so let's say that you have a user reviews. You can just dump all the reviews, like copy and paste it, not even care of reading about it. But let's say I just want to paste the reviews. It has sentiment analysis built in it, so it can gather disadvantages and benefits reading out of an existing data, uh, like existing data. So what I really mean is like benefits, talk about it, and it will gather all the benefits that a customer found around it. I think my content failed. Just 1 second here. Is my screen still loading?
We can see your screen.
Right. So this is a staging environment, right? Like it's probably reloading here, but you get the point, right? Like that's what I can actually do it here. So let's open this up, sections, and you can insert this right in here. And let's say I want to collect only the benefits out of it or disadvantage. Like let's click benefits. The shaft is strong, the gear is easy to remove. Like this is not possible, right? Like it is not possible to quickly come up with things to write about from an existing idea. This really solves the problem of research. And not only this, right? Like if you have there are templates where you can actually pull out data relevant to only H2 tags, right? So let's say you have a blog post or you have a podcast, right? Where you have some transcripts out in YouTube. You can paste the entire transcripts in here, and you can say pull out everything related to pandemic, or pull out everything related to COVID-19, or pull out everything related to content marketing and strategies, right? It can then go and read the data, find everything that is associated with it, and pull it out in meaningful way that you can influence then to create content around. So uh, this is solving a very unique challenge. It's not per se writing; it's solving the research challenge first, and then going to writing.
There's another question. If you had pasted more than one review, would it pull from all of them and aggregate the
Yes,
outcome? That's
yes,
exactly what it did
absolutely,
just
right?
now,
Like
huh?
I can actually pull out even the crap information that you see here without the users, right? Like I'm not even checking. There's dates in there. There's everything, right? Like there's all sorts of information in there. And I'm like talking about copying and pasting YouTube, right? So like think about that. I can even show an example of that. So I just copied like bunch of things. Now like yes, it does. It does the work. And not only that, right? Like let's go ahead and you look at a YouTube podcast. YouTube tech podcast, right? Let's say security now. I'll just pick something right here, pause it. Let's see if they open transcripts. So I'm opening chat transcripts, right? I'm just going to copy this entire transcripts. So let's just copy up till here. There's a huge, maybe couple of hours of video. So we don't want to do all of it together, probably break it out. But let's go here and all right. If you know just a tiny bit about the actual podcast, you can write a 2,000, 3,000 words on your own podcast in less than half an hour using the platform.
Awesome. That was awesome. Um,
It's
Next,
still
we have
creating concepts. Yep.
question. We have question. Which languages do you support?
There's 13 languages we support. We support Spanish, Italian, French. Dutch, Danish. There's quite a few. 13 languages we support. Some of them are still in beta, but we're making like improvements, like day by day. Like someone pointed out, we fixing things right away. But yes, we support 13 languages.
We have next question. What is the key difference between Outranking and other AI content creation tools?
Well, the preliminary is the research fact. We can actually say that the content that comes out of Outranking is 99.9% factual because it is based on research and not fluff or probabilities. While this is something that like other content tools mostly focus on long form content writing, like which needs to be more creative and not factual, which is okay. We don't do that. We write factual content for web when it comes to products, when it comes to informational content, awareness type of content. Any kind of web content that you want to rank for is what we actually help with, and that's our specialties. So more research is required, and that's where actually majority of the marketing spend is.
Awesome. Let's see. There's a couple more things. Can we see how many credits are being consumed as you do these examples?
So, guys, let's not focus on credits. You want quality, you want speed, you want to actually do your 8 hours of power page creation or long form post creation down to 2 hours. And it's going to consume characters, right? Because you yourself would spend the time in reading each of these words. The AI is also doing its job and reading all of these words, so there's cost associated with it. So we would say that if you are creating like a 2,000 word blog post, it can consume anywhere from 30 to 100,000 characters. It depends on your style. My style is I do so much research and so much editing, like before, like even I start writing, that I don't care about characters, right? I care about speed. So I would have like 1,000 ideas already prepared, and then I would knock out the ones that I don't want and only go after that. Well, someone trying to consume characters, they go do their own research and come up with the custom research and put it in to keep the AI controlled and not going out and fetching everything around the content and just focusing on yours.
Awesome. Next up, we had a question about the list of languages that Outranking supports. Here is a list of 13 languages. There was a question about why are you using BERT and not GPT-3? Isn't GPT-3
We are
much better?
using GPT-3. We're using GPT-3 for doing majority of our work, but we have to use in certain cases our own libraries where we have more control. So, for example, GPT-3 will not let you summarize more than 600 characters, right? One of the biggest challenges, right? Like, how do you go about analyzing chunks of data? Like, do you break it out, or do you analyze more content? The more breakouts you have, that's good. But in certain cases where paragraphs just cannot be broken because the sense or the meaning behind them would have been broken, you need to use certain libraries where we can congest some data and then pass it to GPT-3 for better analysis. So actually, this is actually better because you have control over more data. You can analyze more data and come up with meaningful information and more concise and more solid information than fluff around it.
Next question. What is the source of the factual output we get?
The source of factual output you get is, let me just minimize. You guys still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the source is your SERP research and your custom pages that you've added. So we have information on every page that's out there around this particular keyword. So we have up to 50 pages. But for to keep the concepts in train, like, and not have you go wild chasing like so much content, what we do is we read, we find out the most relevant or the closest meaning H2 or H3 tag and or bold tags in SERP content. And then we start extracting concepts around that. So you have actual information. So it's all coming from the first 20 pages of SERP or your custom data that you have used by adding your own URLs. So if you have your own product pages or your own source or PDFs or slide shares, you can add the URLs here. It will go grab the content, and you can actually use those data sources for concepts to go pull out data from as well.
Awesome. By the way, if any of you have additional questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section here on the right. Also, if you feel extra brave, you can raise your hand and I'll add you to the stage if you have specific question you want to ask Pankil. We have another question from Maddie, and she's asking, can you talk about editing and optimizing existing old content to improve your
Absolutely
SEO?
right. So yes, absolutely. So this is probably one of the other things which is super super easy with outranking to do, and we have many use cases where we have actually outranked some of our competition. And you can do some research on SEMrush and you'll identify. So we started ranking for people also ask, right, in less than 2 months building a power page, and I can show you an example of that. But what we are doing is we have step-by-step instructions. So you know how to optimize your content, what keywords to use in them, how to use in them, and everything around the most important on-page SEO elements. So your H1 tags, your sections, how many you need to target, all the section ideas. Then we have what keywords and what highest frequency words you need to use in your sections. All the questions that you need to target from source Google keywords, or there's a bunch of other sources that we use for questions as well. So we tend to tell you to use more questions than what your competition is using. And we also suggest you how to create URLs. But most of this task are automated using AI because we can read this content, we can gather concepts from it, and help you anywhere throughout the journey of creating and optimizing it as well. So we've covered both the aspects. One is where you optimize, and one is where you actually create content. And like a, oh wow, no, there's no time for security. There we go. All right. So what I was like people also ask is one of our latest example, and it started ranking on the first page of Google just a few days ago. So you can understand that the power, like this is just power page, right? And people over here have been there for ages, right? Like ages and ages. And not only that, right? Because we were creating a power page, it also started ranking for numerous other keywords in better positions. So Infinite people also ask, we are outbeat, so it's second position, right? We are outbeating Href. We have zero backlinks, guys. Zero backlinks here. It's all content. Our authority is 1/3 of any of the competition listed on this page, but it's possible because you write good content, better content with better depth, and well-researched content instead of just throwing something at the wall and hoping it'll stick.
Awesome. We have an existing customer, Pankil. Dap is saying, I rank page one, first position for 8 out of 11 blog posts that she's written without ranking. She says she loves the tool.
Oh my God.
Zero
So
backlinks as
this is
well.
a case study. So we need to do an interview with you and understand how are you doing this really. So really appreciate that, Deb. Would love to speak with you.
Hey, we have Esprit. I apologize. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but hey, I messaged you the other day. Love seeing you here. Outbeating Hrefs is crazy. We need to connect. I remember you were doing some crazy stuff with podcasts. I messaged you, haven't heard back. I apologize. This is like personal thing. Next thing, we have a persistent person, and just I'm pretty sure this is not your name, but he's saying, or she is saying, you're avoiding the credit question. Can we at least see where we can check how many credits you've got?
Oh yeah, absolutely, right? Like I'm not avoiding it, guys. I really like a few credits here or there, right? Like if credits you are really after, manual is the way to go. Here is the where you can check your credits. So every time you create new concepts, so let me minimize this. You can see how much you have remaining after every use. There's also places at different in outranking where you can actually track your credit. So if you want to see how much was consumed, open up two screens side by side and refresh. That will get you there right here. So let me go to setting, and in profile you can see how many characters you are consuming.
Awesome. Alrighty. We had so many questions. I had no idea, Pankil, you're gonna be so popular.
Well, that's motivating.
All right. Looks like this is all the questions that we've got.
Great,
Anyone
sounds good.
anyone has any additional questions?
Yes, we're
Please.
working on adding Thai and Indonesian. That's the top two requests. There are some challenges with the libraries that use these two languages. So we'll, in due time, we'll figure it out. We have to make some manual adjustments to the library. So we'll get there because we also need help from linguists that are working with the programming language as well as know the language that we're trying to work with. So it's a bit of a challenge, but we'll get there. Definitely, we're trying to add that as well.
Awesome. Next question from Ethan. The SERP data for a topic is based on results page for a specific keyword, key phrase, right? If you're
Yes.
writing content that wants to rank for multiple keywords, does it factor in latent keywords?
Yes, so that is why I showed you two keywords which where we rank, right? You can search the same keyword and find there are 4 or 5 other keywords that we rank for on first page for for different combinations. And I'll tell you like how we actually help you get there. Like cover more keywords. And so let's look at this example right here. Uh, if you see, it's showing you all the relevant keywords associated with the search term that you are actually trying to go for, right? And you can also see the mentions from SERP, like how many times this was mentioned in SERP. So you know that this is what you need to cover on. And this is exactly what we did, right? We made sure that the most important keyword are being used in the H2, H3, then the bold tags, no matter what. Our content is very well structured, so it's easily readable for Google to come and crawl through that data and find us, right? And that's exactly what we did. And that is what's working for us, right? Like, so what we also have actually is lots of our audiences have requested that we allow multi-keyword analysis, right? And that's part of our next release. And I did give you guys a sneak peek of our next release, but the next release will have this particular feature where you can actually quantify your efforts for different keywords that you are trying to rank for that might not belong in the same group.
Awesome. Next up is Jason. Can we also use NLP like what Surfer SEO does?
We already use NLP. Without NLP, there is no keywords, right? At every layer of whether you gather keywords, there's some sort of NLP involved, no matter what. So saying that I have NLP means it's meaningless. Okay, NLP is natural language processing, and every platform that has keyword related stuff is using NLP. No specific platform can say that we are the only ones using NLP. Every platform has to use NLP in order to extract those keywords using natural language processing. So yes, we use it. Without that, we cannot do about 20% of our work on the platform that we are doing to gather research as well as to influence the AI to come up with content for us.
Deb is saying love multi-keyword analysis.
Great.
Awesome. Let's see if there's anything else.
You're very welcome, Jason. Just
That's about it. That's about it. Looks like we are.
yes,
Aspir is asking
absolutely right.
how different is outranking from Jarvis?
Well, outranking. So difference is because they focus on more on sales copies and stuff that can be brainstorming related, right? That they do very well. And we are not doing that. What we are really focusing on is long form. So if you call it boss mode or you call it any other thing, right? Like it's all long form content editing. And we do long form content editing right here. And like we have like extended features for long form as well, right? Like you can command it to write for you. You can actually do some other templates and answers and definitions and stuff like that. You can control the AI for output. So it's all there, right? Like all AI tools are very similar when it comes to just code writing. The difference is that the data bank is so useless that it is useless to create long form content editor. So it's totally different when it comes to long form factual content. But for storytelling, for creative content, right? Like super creative content where it's okay to drift off every now and then. Jarvis, great stuff. But for factual information that you want to write for your blog post that actually drives the value in terms of leads and information and awareness and all of that good stuff, outranking is where you'd focus on because we have research.
Pankil, I kid you not. I recently saw a post and someone was suggesting to test multiple AI tools, and they're like, "Let's use this prompt." And the prompt was, "There was a thirsty cow" or something like that. And I'm
Yes.
like, "What the heck? Why would someone want to write something about a thirsty cow? Unless you have you're writing something like a story or something, then maybe. But just testing and comparing different tools based on this silly prompt.
Yep. I would not even attempt cow stories on outranking. That's not what we do. So, yeah, totally different, right? Like, we'll leave cow stories to creative editors. But yeah, any plans on adding tone? Yes, there's many tones you can add. So there's a big challenge around tone, right? Like, so let's solve the challenge of factual information and get AI to write information that's actually valuable first, and then we adjust the tone to it. Right now, yeah, sure. If you want the tone added to it, you can do some manual adjustments, or you can use some plugins with different AI tools. Where I've noticed that some people do use it, where you can select a certain part of the content and you can change the tone of it. We'll have that coming in. But right now, we're more focused on bringing quality information on web pages and not the fluff. And then we'll focus on improving the tone, helping you build so in this version, we are already doing transitioning of paragraphs. So you can understand like our releases happen every month and a half. And we're like 3 times or 4 times leveling up with every release. So quality is everything. We want to focus on data that goes in and the data that comes out first, and then we'll focus on tone and cow stories as well.
All right, Punky, you can kill your screen share. Otherwise, people see a very tiny face of yours. Everyone, this was not supposed to be a demo of the tool. You've been asking so many questions. My goodness. Now, I promise the rest of the summit is not going to be about org ranking. We actually brought a bunch of speakers, experts to talk about, just adding value to all of you, all of our customers, all of our users. If you've tried and liked, if you've tried and didn't like, whatever your feedback is, would love to hear that. But this summit is not about outranking, all right? You've been asking so many questions. Thank you so much for all of your support. And we're continuing with the summit. Pankil, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, just like I told you, the next speaker is going to be absolutely amazing. Taylor with a company called Scorpion, huge marketing agency, and he's a senior SEO, I think, manager. Join me in the next session. Again, we're going to jump from session to session. Keep in mind, so this session is about to end, and then you're going to get the yellow notification bar at the top saying the next session is about to start. I'll see you there, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.